Hey everyone, welcome back to the One Stop Wrestling YouTube channel. As always, I am Craig Smith. I am joined by my co-host Alfonso, and this is another exclusive One Stop Wrestling interview. And joining us this week is the amazing Anna Ray. Anna, how are you doing?
Craig, I am doing well. Thank you so much for asking. I'm so excited to be here with you guys so you can learn more about Anna Ray and who she is behind and in the ring. So, yeah.
Well, it's going to be a fun interview. But normally when we do these interviews, it's people have normally made an in-ring debut, but that's not necessarily the case with yourself, is it?
It doesn't seem to be, no. So I actually started my training back in October of last year. So I'm still working on the actual wrestling training aspect of it. But my trainer asked me, hey, do you want to start doing some ring announcing? Maybe it'll help you get comfortable on the mic and it'll help with your promos. So I was like, whatever, I'll be your ring announcer, whatever. And so I've kind of been in that role now for since April, I believe, and it's just going really well. It's definitely helping me flourish on the mic, interact with the crowd, and reading the crowd. That's one thing that I've definitely learned a lot on. So I feel like I'm taking it in a certain order because the plan was to debut as a wrestler, but now I've debuted as an announcer. So I'm still doing my wrestling training. So you're just going to have to pay attention to Diamond State Wrestling to see when Anna Ray can make her in-ring debut. So that's kind of the plan right now.
So tell us a little bit more about your training. Who are you training with? How
Okay.
far have you got through your training,
All
etc.?
right, so I'm being trained with Diamond State Wrestling in Springdale, Arkansas. I'm being trained by two people. One of them is Alexander Gold. He's been a trainer for a few years now and has been wrestling for about 9 years. He's been on like AEW Dark and has wrestled several indie promotions. If you could imagine, if it's possible to even imagine a more athletic, acrobatic Kurt Angle, that is his style of wrestling. He is very technical, but he does some of the coolest moves I think I've seen. And in addition, we do have an assistant head trainer. His name is Eli the Dreamboat Perez. He's been trained with flatbacks down in Florida. So he's brought in a variety of training, and he was also trained by Alexander as well. So I think combined, there's like 13, 14 years of experience there. So we learn the technical aspect of everything and then kind of dip into the character work, which is something really important that doesn't really get taught a lot in some schools. So one thing I really do like about Diamond State is that, with a lot of wrestling schools, it's like you go for 12 weeks and then you're ready to make your debut. We don't really want to do that. We kind of want to slow it down a little bit. And since we're kind of like a local school, we're looking for local people to come and train at our facility. So it's like a few times a week, few hours a night, you're getting in the ring and you're learning all of the basics. And so right now, I mean, I'm still kind of learning basics because I do have like a little bit of an old shoulder injury. I just have to be slow and take it a little careful, so I don't have to have surgery or anything. But learning certain types of move sets and being very specific because it's pro wrestling. It's been here forever. There's so much to learn, and even people who are considered to be professionals on the larger product are still learning new things every day. Take Mercedes Moné, for example. Like, that girl is constantly learning something new, and she's been wrestling for half of her life now. So I mean, that's kind of our mantra at Diamond State, is that the never stop learning attitude. You're going to learn as much as you can, as much as at your own pace, really. And so, I mean, not only that, I did go to Booker T's fantasy camp down in Houston.
Yes.
So that was cathartic. First off, it was like, Booker T, can you dig that? So that was a bit insane. But also, like, that fantasy camp was more or less like, if you've ever thought you wanted to be a wrestler, but you're not really sure of the commitment that comes with it, like spending a lot of money to go and train with like Seth Rollins, Cody Rhodes, some of the people who have really notable, successful schools in the US anyway. If you're not sure you want to spend that kind of money, but you want to know what it feels like to be in the ring, do the wrestling workouts, feel what it's like to be in ring shape. that's what you need to go do. Go do Booker T's fantasy camp, because that's exactly what I did. I was one of two girls there. There was another girl there. She was 16 or 17, I think. And that girl's going to make it. First off, I won't plug her here just in case, because I don't have her permission. But you know, there was basically a lot of indie talent that came down there. It was networking opportunity, and it was more or less, let's do the wrestling workouts for 3 hours, and then let's go hop in the ring for another 3 hours doing drills, and let's see by the end of it if you still want to learn how to do lockups, if you still want to learn how to just run the ropes or anything like that. So it was more or less kind of like a beyond scared straight kind of thing, in terms of, you know, we're not trying to scare you away, but this is really what it's like to try and make it in this industry. And being trained by Booker T and all of the trained wrestlers he has running Row down there, it was a very cathartic experience, and I would 100% put my body through that again, because I drove 10 hours there, didn't sleep at all, and then after camp drove 10 hours back to my house, and that was hard, and that was probably the hardest part, actually. But so I would definitely recommend that to anybody who's ever wanted to, you know, get into the wrestling industry, but they don't want to commit to it just yet, or they're still a little unsure. So I think he does these things like once a year, maybe. It's a fantasy camp. You pay a certain amount of money, you get a t-shirt, and you get to go train with Booker T. Not many people can say they get to do that. So I would highly recommend it. If anybody here out is listening about they want to get into pro wrestling, look at Row for Booker T's fantasy camp, or come move to Arkansas. We would love to have you. We would love to train you at Diamond State. So yeah.
I'm
that
really loving.
Alfonso's got a question I want to ask you about Booker T's fantasy camp, a very particular question. Alfonso, what do you want to ask?
Okay, but first, before the question, I want to tell you about your commitment. I think the commitment is something that not many people have it, and just to be and knowing that you need to learn every day, you need to go do the work, and like you want to be a wrestler, but they tell you, okay, go be a arena announcer, and you're not going to stop because you want to achieve a dream, and to achieve that dream, sometimes you have to take a left, a right, but you're focused on your dream and you want to do that. You go to the fantasy camp, you're still learning, and I think that's amazing. But with Craig, we had a very important question about that fantasy camp with Booker T. Did you learn the spinner Rooney? And if you did, can you do it on camera? That's the biggest question.
I did not learn the spinner Rooney. No, he didn't teach us that. And to be fair, I think we all kind of wanted him to show it to us. But honestly, guys, let's give credit where it's due. You know, I mean, Booker T is, you know, well into, I think, his 50s now. And,
yeah,
you know, that spinner Rooney is going to be saved for a random Monday Night Raw or a random Royal Rumble return. Okay. So he didn't teach us that. And I'll tell you what, if I ever learn it, I'll be sure to send it to you guys so you can plug it on One Stop Wrestling, because I would love to learn that. And, you know, if I do make it one day, he's someone I would love to pay homage to. So absolutely, I'll learn it for you guys.
And my other question, that you were defining Alexander Gold as a more athletic Kurt Angle. You want to become a wrestler. How do you define yourself? How do you want people to tell, like, you are what?
Oh man. You know, we're still trying to figure that out with my build. I mean, it really depends. So right now, in terms of training, we're learning all of the technical basics. And then from there, we're going to extenuate more on, do I want to become more of a powerhouse? Do I want to become more of a brawler, more of a striker? And so it just kind of depends on what I do best at. But in terms of who I'd like to be, or even who I'm at currently, I would say if Lita and Beth Phoenix had a baby together, that would probably be very similar to my style in the ring. I love the idea of doing a lot of the high risk stuff, but at the same time, like, I love that Beth Phoenix was just a pillar. Like, you couldn't take that girl down. She was the Glamazon for a reason. And so, like, I aspire to that, to kind of like a more Rhea Ripley, Chyna kind of vibe, but you never know what I could pull out of my heart, like pocket, like a twist of fate or whisper in the wind or something like that, you know? So I would say if Lita and Beth Phoenix had a child together somehow in some way, I would probably be that person. So
I love that. It's like the diamond in the rough, you know, like the Diamond State Wrestling. You're the diamond in the rough. You are
thank you.
strong, but you can be also special, like a diamond. So that's, I
Well, I
think that's
appreciate that. Thank you. I'm gonna say that to my trainer, and he's gonna say I'm full of crap, but I appreciate that. Appreciate that.
we can try.
So one day you wake up and you go, that's professional wrestling I watch on TV. I want to do that. How did you come to the realization of, you know what, this is what I want to do? And what was your parents' reaction when you went to them and went, look, mum, look, dad, professional wrestling, this is what I'm going to do? Did you have any pushbacks, or were your parents
Oh,
very supportive over it?
I mean, in a moment of transparency, I mean, I don't have a great relationship with my father, but he always showed a lot of support for that. And my mom loved wrestling. She just didn't live long enough to see me live all of this out. But as far as my family, my friends go, I have a ton of support now. There was some pushback being a kid, because I want you to think of something. If you had a daughter that you were raising from the Attitude Era, would you want her to go and be a wrestler?
No,
Assuming
absolutely
nothing
not.
is going to change.
No.
Okay. So, but yeah, there was a ton of pushback from that. And I got a lot of shit as a kid because, you know, in kindergarten, Miss Carney, I'm going to name drop here. She's in a nursing home, I hope. She told me that I couldn't be a wrestler, that I wasn't built for it. She asked everybody in the class, what do you want to be when you grow up? I said, I wanted to be a WWE diva, but I wanted to do exactly what Stone Cold Steve Austin does. So I knew as a kid that I didn't want to do what the women were doing on TV. And that's nothing against what the women were doing. They were doing what they were told. But that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to go down to the ring and clash beers over Vince McMahon's limp body. That's what I wanted to do. And Miss Carney, my kindergarten teacher, she just gave me that, okay, sweetie, you do that. And now she's probably getting her diapers changed in a nursing home while I'm out here living the dream that she told me I couldn't do. And so that is the promo from Anna Ray. When it comes to telling me that I can or cannot do something, I'm going to show you exactly what I can do. So therefore, while she's getting her dusty, musty butt wiped by somebody who's only getting minimum wage, I am going to be showing her every time Diamond State Wrestling performs that I am the reason that women are evolving, and that women like Trish Stratus, Lita, Chyna, Victoria, Jazz, Ivory, Mickie James, everybody who came from that era and evolved have curated people like Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, the Bella Twins, AJ Lee, Bayley, you know, and then those people are creating Anna Ray. So therefore, that is where I'm meant to be. And I'm going to do this dream. Am I going to make it? I guess she has to find out and see. So Miss Carney, I hope you're enjoying your unseasoned mashed potatoes in your nursing home. Because you telling a formative child that they couldn't do something, well, that's karma. Because look at you, you can't even wipe your own ass.
I think we cut this video here and we send it to the nursing home. They can play it on movie night.
It might kill her, honestly, so let's not.
Let's hope we come back to this moment, like in 5 years or something like that, and said, look at this promo. We knew it. We knew it from that. Yeah.
Well, you booked me for this interview, so you must have known something, huh?
Exactly.
Yeah, sorry.
For me,
now, you mentioned evolution of women's wrestling. And obviously from the dark days of the Attitude Era, where women's wrestling wasn't really what we see now, what do you think are the biggest hurdles for the women's wrestling today to take it to that next step in your own mind?
Well, I mean, first off, we've just got to figure out how to book the women better.
Yes.
And I adore everything coming out of NXT right now. I think, you know, Shawn Michaels is doing a beautiful job booking those women, because I think they are the future. They are obviously the next main eventers coming up to the main roster. And so I think it starts there. because you've got the talent, you know, I mean, with WWE's NIL deal that they have, and they're being more proactive about signing indie talent, which is fantastic because that's what should be happening. You know, with that coming in, curating these characters and putting them in a performance center, teaching them how to do things safely, they're doing everything right, in my opinion. NXT, the women's division, is balling right now. And it seems like there's a lot of pushback on the main roster, and even with WWE's rival company, AEW, if we can just figure out how to book women better. And I think last night at Payback, that if you watched that steel cage match between Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus,
Amazing.
that was one of the best steel cage matches I've ever seen, male or female. That was insane. Trish Stratus taking a superplex off of the steel cage in 2023. Are you kidding me? Like, girl, like, that was just so good, and it had such a good payoff. And I think that that's where a lot of this will start. It's not about who we can sign or who we can develop. It's how can we book these women better, and how can we spotlight them more? Why are we giving them such a time crunch? Like, that's kind of where we can start and go from there. And I think, you know, Trish and Becky really showed us what it was all about last night. And they really proved they need to be in the main event picture a heck of a lot more often, if anything. So that's where we start. And I really hope there's a way we can do that. So
the best thing about last night was that you have this great, amazing match, and then you have Becky interacting with the NXT champion. And I want to watch NXT now. I want to go watch. Yeah, and I think the characters, I think that the development of the characters is so important for nowadays in wrestling of women. And I think that that's something that's lacking in AEW. But as you say, you have to find this character and then put it on the spotlight. Give it more time to develop, because we need to care about the women that are wrestling and what they're doing. And you don't need a title to make people care about women wrestling. And that was happening last night in the steel cage match.
exactly.
And I'm fully behind you, and I want to see you have storylines that are not about titles, but maybe about beer and trashing Vince McMahon's house or whatever you want. Because I don't think you need a title to make a wrestler feel important. And I think that's the lesson that we have to give to the people that book women in wrestling nowadays.
I 100% agree, because, you know, there's been a lot of discourse about Rhea Ripley and her title run, and it's never really the wrestler's fault on how they're booked. So I don't think anything of that. My concern comes from the people who are booking. And, you know, if we could give someone who has that title, like Rhea Ripley, who is a strong, polarizing force to be reckoned with, if we could give her an opponent that can truly keep up. And it looks like last night, Raquel Rodriguez did just that. You know, this was finally a Rhea Ripley match that wasn't a squash match. I would like to see that belt have a little bit more purpose, you know, kind of like what Seth Rollins is doing with the heavyweight title. You know, he's workhorsing that title and making people earn it. He's had multiple title defenses since it was introduced. So I think that we need to have that, you know, we need to have an incentive. But at the same time, there was bad blood with Trish and Becky, with everything that happened with Lita earlier this year, which will Lita return? Will Lita fix Trish Stratus of her evil ways? We'll find out. But that's one of those things where, yeah, you don't need a title to tell this story. Just like, hypothetically, if Randy Orton were to come back and face Cody Rhodes, we don't need a title there.
Oh, no,
because there's a ton of history there, right? With legacy. Master teaches the student, you know? That's kind of, you don't need that, you don't need a title in that picture at all. So, I mean, we've all like fantasy booked on Randy Orton's return, and while Cody's in WWE, who can we put him with? You know, but there are some stories you really just don't need a title for. And I 100% agree. It all comes down to the booking. So if we can just find a better way to curate those storylines, like especially with Bayley needs to be utilized a lot better in or out of that storyline with titles. You know, she is someone who is underutilized, in my opinion. but is probably one of the best to ever step in the ring. So, I mean, you know, it just boils down to booking. So we'll see if there's any changes. I'm hopeful after last night's steel cage match, there will be. So we'll see.
Let's go and be a little bit controversial. We all agree that we don't need a title. But what if WWE shows a mid-card title for the women? Like a US. Yes?
We need, absolutely. We have the talent for it, contrary to what the neckbeards on Twitter say. We have the talent for it. We just don't have the stories for it. So that's where we start telling a story, because you know who would be an excellent contender for the Intercontinental title? Everybody. Liv Morgan, Carmella when she comes back, and Liv Morgan obviously when she comes back, Zelina Vega. Like, people who need that extra push. That's the idea of the mid-card title. I've never considered the term mid-card to be degrading. I consider it to be like most improved. Like, oh, okay, management's definitely keeping their eyes on you now. Let's see if we can give you a title, see how you present yourself with it. See how different pairings we can put you with, see different promos we can put you with. Let's see if we can boost you to that main event status. Like, take it, Gunther, for example. Gunther is a true force. And, you know, has he beat Honky Tonk Man's record? Is that, I think that's happening.
It's this Monday.
This is a Monday.
That's
Monday,
literally
right?
less than 24 hours away, guys. Like, obviously, like, that dude could be a contender to dethrone Roman Reigns. I mean, look at the way he's been booked. Like, it's insane. Like, Imperium is flying under the radar with their badassness right now. Like, they have a lot to offer. And so that is what I think of when I think of mid-card. I don't think of jobber. I don't think of somebody who flopped, or what the kids say. I think of somebody who's about to be in the main event picture, because that's what's usually what the IC title or the US title or anything like that. And I think the women's division can definitely benefit from that. First off, it gives a bit more incentive. So if, say, they want to have Rhea Ripley hold a title hostage and not develop a ton of stories with her, but say they want to continue pushing the idea of like intergender matches with the Judgment Day or anything like that, totally fine. Then where is the incentive for a lot of the other women who are still showing up day in, day out, working their ass off, just like Rhea Ripley is? Rhea can't control how she's booked, but where's their incentive? You know, where's their opportunity to go and do media, to go and promote WWE? And, you know, like, it's all about diversity and inclusion. Like, you know, the reason why Lita is somebody I hold near and dear to my heart is because she didn't look like a lot of the women that were normally on the roster growing up. You could tell Vince McMahon had a type. And Lita, you know, she had her tattoos, her red hair, her punk rock attitude. And that stood out to me because that's exactly who I was and exactly who I am. And so I think that, you know, being a formative young child, seeing Lita hold that women's championship, or seeing Lita do, you know, a moonsault off of the top rope or off of a ladder and land on a man. Oh, hell, that was so cool. Where's that? That is something that is missing. I do think that we need to see a little bit more diversity, and putting a title on someone like Zelina Vega, no harm added. It would only boost WWE. So I think that the women's division could absolutely benefit for it. There's a talent there. There's plenty of roster to choose from. It's just a matter of, will they do it, or will they consider it to be a consolation prize? So I guess that's the biggest controversy of it. So I guess we'll see, but I would love to personally see that.
Now, you touched on social media very slightly there. Obviously, social media is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger, especially for people like yourself. How important do you class social media to get your name out there, to get your character out there, to grow a fan base?
Craig, everything is on a cell phone, everything. And so this is part of our anatomy now, okay? Everybody has it with them. They live and they breathe on it. Your social media, your Instagram, your Twitter, your TikTok, your Facebook, that is your resume when you're doing this. Now, I am just scratching the surface on being in the indies. I'm pretty much a Diamond State exclusive right now, so I'm not worried too much about promoting myself outside of Diamond State Wrestling until my training is complete. But I mean, I'm constantly marketing myself and, you know, utilizing Instagram and Facebook's like ad features, you know, picking a good post that highlights what I'm doing. Yeah, if I have the $20, I'm going to pay and I'm going to highlight that because I want eyes on certain things. I mean, I also run the Diamond State Instagram and Facebook account as well. So I'm doing that too. So if we have a show coming up, I'm going to set it to a certain demographic and see how we can boost our ticket sales. So guys, it's your resume. So you have to utilize it. You have to market yourself. And, you know, as opposed to how people would do things back in the olden days, that's still effective too. Hot dogs, handshakes, and phone calls, they say. You know, you do what you got to do, but there's an easier way to do it, and it's by social media. So it's your resume. So what you put on there obviously is forever. And, you know, you obviously need to be careful. But if you want to do this, this is your time. Use those hashtags, follow the algorithm timing. You know, this is how you can get the attention of somebody who maybe works in the performance center for tryouts or works for AEW or Ring of Honor. You know, so this is kind of how you can get somebody's attention. If you go to your explore page on Instagram, at least for me, I'm constantly seeing a bunch of indie talent that I don't follow that I'm like, oh man, she looks like she'd be fun to tag with or be in a match with. I'm going to follow her. Maybe I'll, you know, keep her in the reserves for maybe future bookings. Maybe I'll see if Diamond State can bring her in or something like that. So utilize your social media platform. And I know that there are like social media courses that some people who work in this industry offer, like how to promote yourself. I'm not one of them. I mean, this is the best advice I can give to anybody, and it's totally free. Just subscribe to One Stop Wrestling if you want to get the full interview here. But as far as, see, I can do this. I could totally plug you guys. So as far as like, you know, like getting yourself out there, you just have to use what's right in front of you. And so, I mean, making those connections too along the way. So one thing that I've learned is I've been to a few Comic-Cons where that's where I met Trish Stratus and Lita, literally this time last year. And then right after I met them is when I signed with Alexander Gold for Diamond State Wrestling. So, nice. I mean, it was a beautiful little love story that needed to happen. And I've also met JBL and Hacksaw Jim Dugan. And then I've also met Booker T and Charmel and several notable indie talent. Shane Taylor came and wrestled with Diamond State back in April. So, I mean, he was super friendly and just a nice, calm presence in the locker room. So, I mean, there's networking out there, and you constantly need to network yourself in social media and in person. Go to local indie shows, even if you think it's below you. You just go and you have fun. You heckle the heels. You enjoy that little catharsis. Let that little kid version inside of you come out at least for a few hours. It's just the best advice I can give is that have fun with it, but your social media is your resume. So you have to utilize it.
I think that's a great advice for everybody. Like, see, it's not only wrestlers, but people also that work for wrestling or work with wrestling. And I think that's awesome. But you were saying something about seeing things in front of you. And I'm seeing a little thing in front of me. And it's the picture of Stone Cold Steve Austin to your right or left. I don't know. But seeing that Stone Cold Steve Austin picture and reminding me that you're an announcer, I want you to try right now to announce Steve Austin to the ring. How do you want to do that?
Oh, this is what the putting me on the spot thing was about, huh?
No, we're not even at that point. I didn't even know he was going with this. This is just all on Alfonso.
I'll announce Stone Cold, but who I have on my wall here, it's crazy. So I work with brains a little bit. That's my day job. So that's what all this is. I promise you I'm not like a zombie or anything. And then over here is like my Inspire wall. So, I mean, I would like twist my laptop, but it's got too many cords plugged into it. So I've got pictures of like me and Trish and Lita. And then I actually had Lita sign a picture of her and Edge. So I don't know if you're referring to this picture here. That's Edge.
Yeah.
And then Randy Orton action figures, and then Cody Rhodes. A couple of things here. But I mean, I'll announce Stone Cold. I do need to get him up here. He definitely deserves to be on the wall of inspiration.
I can't believe you got it wrong, Alfonso.
I was wrong because I saw the shorts. So I was thinking it was the jeans of Stone Cold and the black shirts. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I
This
got
was
it wrong.
2006 Edge. So this was, I
Yeah.
can see why you think that. So yeah, I mean, common mistake. It's okay, Alfonso. It's okay. But
Okay.
yeah, oh geez. I don't even remember his build, height, and weight or
Is
all
it
right.
six? I want to say it's 6'2" or 6'3".
Oh gosh. Stone Cold Steve Austin, if you're watching this, I am so sorry for what I'm about to do to you. All right, you know what? I'll just announce him as the winner because he is the winner.
Perfect.
Here is your winner, the Texas Rattlesnake, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Love it.
Woo!
Absolutely
If
love
there's
it.
not beer clashing somewhere in Texas or Broken Skull Ranch, you should have heard that from here.
Yeah.
I'm going a headphone warning to
I'm going to go drink a beer after this because I feel so inspired because of it.
honestly, you should. You should definitely go drink some of his beers. Or I think his beer of choice back in the day was like always Miller Lite. That's what they would always throw him in the. So yeah, go drink a Miller Lite. Go stick it to the man, you know, because he was the anti-hero. He was the anti-authority person. And so that's exactly who I am. So
Right.
yeah.
So now we are going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
This is a part of the episode where we find out a little bit more about you, how you became a fan of wrestling, and a little more insight to you. So, what is the first ever wrestling match you remember watching on television?
First ever match? Oh, geez. I think it was Stone Cold and The Rock. It was like, all right, so I was born in 96. So I remember my earliest memory of wrestling was the glass shattering, Stone Cold running down to the ramps with his knee braces, his denim shorts, his 316 shirt, running down the ramp and doing the stunner on Vince McMahon, clashing beers over his body. That's like my first memory of wrestling. And I knew I was hooked as like a 3-4-year-old child. I was hooked. And so I think my first ever match that I remember, I can't remember exactly which one, but I think it was The Rock because, I mean, I knew that my dad was booing somebody on TV, but it wasn't Stone Cold because we were a huge Stone Cold family. So I would say, I can't remember exactly which one, but I feel like it was Stone Cold and The Rock for sure.
Alfonso, you can go now.
Yeah, I need to go. And I want to ask you about, okay, you're doing your wrestling now and you're trying to find your style. And so for you, which one is the best finisher ever? And that's a big question because you can have a stunner, you can have the RKO, or maybe it's a finisher that you say, I want to take that finisher and make it mine. So the best finisher.
Best finisher. The one I loved the most as a kid was Sweet Chin Music. Because it was always delivered at the most perfect times. The super kick is the most overused thing in wrestling now. So it's kind of like demented a lot of it for me. So, but as a kid, I knew whenever Shawn Michaels started getting in that turnbuckle and tuning up the band, it was over for whoever was about to be on the receiving end of that, because that's what a finisher is.
Yeah.
So as a kid, it was Sweet Chin Music, but as an adult, as Anna Ray, and one of my biggest inspirations being Randy Orton, it's got to be the RKO. I think it's aged very well, and you know, there's a finisher that I'm structuring that is not going to be the RKO. I don't believe in taking from people I don't, know personally. So if the conversation ever happens with Randy Orton and myself, which is probably never going to happen, but if that conversation ever happens, it's going to be a verbal signed permission thing. But one thing I loved about Randy Orton is that it would come from out of nowhere. And so how I will choose to pay homage to Randy Orton is my finisher will come from out of nowhere. What my finisher is, you'll just have to catch a Diamond State show to find out. But I would say popular, if not the best effective finisher in the game for sure.
Right. So this one is always one of the most controversial questions, but always breaks the internet. You are a gamer. The greatest wrestling video game of all time is, and there's only one correct answer.
Man, I loved SmackDown versus Raw 2006 and 2007.
Yes.
The soundtracks on both of them were goated.
07.
And, oh my gosh. And one thing I loved to do as a kid is I would alter like the characters' like entrances. So I would have the Undertaker come out and do like the Trish Stratus or the Tori Wilson entrance in his gear, and it was like, oh, that's the Undertaker, but he's carrying this little dog, and or doing this. That was just something I've been a troll since I was a kid. So, and also like it's just, I don't know, like they don't make them like they used to, you know? And so I would say it's a tie between 2006 and 2007, but definitely the SmackDown versus Raw entire series. I wouldn't complain if they decided to bring that back instead of doing like WWE 2K20, whatever year we're on now. I don't know. So
07 is the correct answer. You can continue.
oh, I'm so glad I have your permission, Craig. So glad.
That's okay. Like everybody looks for it. You've got it.
Yeah.
Alfonso, on you go.
Oh my God. You put me in the spot right now. But
I'm also putting Alfonso on the spot, like, because I just felt like being an absolute cunt this evening. So he's having to come up with this as well. So you're not alone, Anna.
okay. Anna, if you could face one wrestler that is active or legend, who will be?
Male or
One,
female?
only one.
Oh, that's really hard.
Alive,
one.
dead, legend, whatever you want.
Sasha Banks / Mercedes Moné, 100%. She's one of the best to ever do it. I really think the four horsewomen they're going down in history as four of the best to ever step in the ring in their own way. And her story resonates with mine very similarly. Her and Bailey both, you know, I get it. And I think that she and I could probably make some magic in the ring just based off of a promo, you know. So I think should she ever come back to WWE, I think she would do really well as the Mercedes Moné character. But I think she would probably be my number one dream opponent for sure.
I would love to see that.
Yeah, of course.
Right. So the most important question of the whole interview: will we see you on the One Stop Wrestling YouTube channel again in the future?
Probably. If you can afford me, of course.
Oh.
But, okay, sorry, that was Anna Ray coming out. She's a little like big money Matt, but like anyway, I mean, absolutely. You guys have been a joy to talk with. So if you need to talk about anything going on with like Diamond State, I'm happy to speak with you about it. There's also just anything women's wrestling I'm happy to advocate for or talk about. So I'm happy to come back on if that's what the people want. So for sure.
Anna, you have been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for coming on. Now, for people watching, how can people catch you on your social media? We'll put this in the comments for anybody who wants to follow Anna. But Anna, if you want to give yourself a shout out for people to follow you, this is your time.
Absolutely. So my Instagram is it's.AnnaRay, and then my Twitter /X or whatever that app is called now is it's_AnnaRay, and TikTok is it's.AnnaRay. And so if you see the pattern here, it's Anna Ray. So yeah, you guys can follow me on there. I try to post at least on stories pretty regularly. But yeah, so stay tuned. At least for Diamond State Wrestling, we will have 2 more shows coming up for the year. We've got Riot at the Shire, which is a pub show, standing room only kind of thing. So that'll be a lot of fun. So I'll be announcing that one. And then we also have Diamond State of Emergency, which is coming up in October. That one's a more family-friendly show. So if any of our viewers happen to be from the greater Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas area, you want to come and support some indie wrestling, I'll be at that show announcing it as well. So it'll be a lot of fun. Really excited.
Amazing. For everyone that's tuned in, as always, thank you so much for taking the time out to spend with us. Until next time, follow us on our social media, which One Stop Wrestling on Facebook, YouTube, X stroke Twitter, whatever Musk wants to call it now. And yes, and until next time, stay safe, everybody. Anna, thank you so much for being an amazing guest.
Of course. Thank you for having me. Thank you.